Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me on this Friday. And if you went out of your way to like, comment, or subscribe, thank you. So schooling fish is a deal that is really hard to master. It seems like you have a lot of opportunities and then they're gone before you know it. Chasing smoke, I think, is probably the best way to describe going after schooling fish, but it just seems like in the summertime, you will go to some lakes and the fishing will be so bad, probably because most of the fish are out in the middle of the lake being pelagic, chasing bait fish, but you don't have another option. I've been to the Barren River where you could catch maybe one or two fish if you fish the bank all day or if you fish deep all day, but there was really nothing better than that. And chasing schooling fish was going to win. I mean, that was what was going to be the best way to catch 18 pounds. And if you did anything else, you really had a shot at like 2 bass. So for that reason, by necessity, you do have to go in fish for schooling fish. And they're fun to catch when it works. It's really fun. There's really not a better way to seeing fish, throwing to them, and catching them. So I'm going to give you 4 baits that I really like on schooling fish. And there's a similarity between all 4 of these baits. They're small baits. So it seems like when bass are out there chasing bait fish, they're typically going after bait fish that are this size. So whatever you throw, typically the smaller stuff is going to work. Now, I've caught schooling fish on big swim baits and in the full-size spook before, but that was earlier in the year. It seems like when you get later in the year and they're really keyed in on those smaller bait fish, it's all about matching the hatch, because if you don't give them something that's extremely close to what they're used to biting, they're not going to touch it. And I've even seen where like the pound test you're throwing is very important. So the first bait is a small swim bait. This is just on an underspin, but the Keitech 2.8 swing impact fat, the 3.3, the 3.8, those are all really good sizes, but I've caught them the best on this really small one. So I like it on this underspin, but you can also put it on just a normal jig head, but you want something with some weight on it because typically they're a good ways out there. So small swim bait, and I've even caught them on this with 6-pound line. So if they're in really clear water, putting 15-pound test or something like that is not going to work. You have to sometimes go down to really light line. The hook you use, the jig head you use, that can also become really important. So small swim bait is definitely my favorite. Now, top water, they're usually feeding on top, so top water is a great option. I like the small poppers, chrome black, some type of minnow style color. It's the same thing with the head and boyo. Walking bait or a popping bait, it seems like they both work. It's all about being in the right place at the right time and then getting your bait to them before they go back down. And then the last one is a lipless crankbait. So a rattle trap. This is a one knocker by Booyah, but a 1/4 ounce I think is very important. I think that smaller size, and you can still throw this bait a pretty good distance, but this is one of those baits where that top water sometimes fouls up. You may throw the top water out there, the line gets wrapped around the hooks, your bait's not doing anything, remotely looking like a bait fish. So I think that lipless crankbait, even if this does get fouled up on your cast or a fish hits it and fouls it up, I think you can still catch them if the line gets maybe wrapped around the hook. You can jig it, it still looks somewhat natural. The top water pretty much loses all of its allure when it gets fouled up. Now, not to say that if one bass spits your topwater out and it's fouled up, another bass might come and eat it. That's happened to me plenty of times. But topwater fishing is probably one of your best ways to catch them, but it doesn't always work. So there's going to be something that you have in your boat. It's going to be similar to one of those 4 baits that I just showed you. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of those 4 baits, but if you aren't getting bit on those, you got to continue to switch and switch and switch until you find something that they will bite. I think that's the biggest thing about schooling fish. If that's your only option, is continuously changing until there's something in your boat that will work. And typically, they're going to be baits like this. So they're going to be baits that are easy to cast. You can make long casts. They are small packages, but they resemble little bait fish really well. So that's schooling fish, what I've learned in 20 years of chasing those fish around. Tournaments, it's, you know, make or break. A lot of times you will sit there with your rod and your bait out of the water, just sitting there waiting. I've seen guys do that for hours at times. So that is schooling fish, and super rewarding, super frustrating, depending on where you're at. Hopefully somewhere in the middle. Try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.